this is my very first stream ever. Today's starter project, we are finally trying out spun cotton. Spun cotton is, if you can see on our reference photo board, which is something I always like to do. We don't have as many references for this project because it's going to be pretty freeform. But if you can see, with spun cotton, you can take little cotton strands and glue and make figures out of them. It's somewhat similar to felting. Well, it's kind of like a mix of wet and dry felting using glue. You're able to make the structural elements of dry felting while not actually having to stab something 30,000 times. Instead, you just smear a glue mixture all over it. And I'm sure when we do the more specific projects on this, I will showcase that a little better for the YouTube video. Again, tester. This is a tester. Spun cotton. Spun cotton is traditionally done, from what I can tell, I'm trying this out, this is a new craft. It's traditionally done using cotton batting for something like quilting. This is pretty much just a pressed cotton sheet, very similar to felt, that you can then rip little pieces of cotton off of, which will be really nice when we're trying to do bigger, flatter sections. Combining the cotton batting with specific PVA glue, which is kind of an archival quality glue. However, if you don't want to have super duper specific supplies, you can actually get away with cotton balls. Cotton balls and school glue works well as well. That's what I did the first time I did this, before I even knew that this was called spun cotton. People make really, really beautiful and awesome little figurines with it, which I'm also gonna do, but mine are maybe not gonna be quite as cute as theirs, though of course I find my absurd, creepy little cuties to be adorable. Not everybody agrees. So our main supplies are going to be cotton balls and glue, or batting and PVA glue if you want to do it a little nicer. Oftentimes, when starting out, people will start out with some sort of a sketch to try to get the proportions correct. However, first off, you might be somewhat surprised by this fact. I am a terrible illustrator. Illustration is really not my strong suit. I tend to lean pretty darn heavily on computer, where I can, use the undo button and I'll do my designs there to some degree. Luckily for me though, I'm not doing something that actually requires caring about proportions. I'm just gonna be here and slap some cotton onto a wire and coat it in glue. So we're not gonna do the planning out steps. Instead, like I like to do when I'm learning a brand new project, we're gonna start out by just slapping stuff together. And if we come up with something cool that can be made into a larger project, that's awesome. But this is a lot closer to a doodle, just to figure out what sort of thing this craft even is, if I haven't done it before. Or what sort, or if whatever idea I have is actually gonna work. So, we have our favorite armature wire, which can be used and cut up. So if that's gonna be a really long little friend. We can use it to basically make a skeletal structure for our friend if we so choose. You probably didn't see my recent crow video, but we're going to be using a similar skeletal structure to what we used there, with the armature wire, and then wrapping it with a thinner gauge wire to kind of hold everything together and give whatever we're applying to the surface a little more room to cling on to it. I did get a theater degree, that is true, but that theater degree was in scenic design and props, very much so, not in acting. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna get back to actually making the project here. We're making a weird little stick figure to start with. That's what I've decided. I'm definitely not measuring. I was just cutting off the sharp ends left over from the diagonal cutters. I've decided they're going to be a tripod, our little friend. They don't have to be a tripod, but we're probably just going to go for it. I'm also going to give them pretty short arms specifically because I want their like felt hand, whatever, this section to be floppy. I don't know. Let's be honest. I feel like I'm just winging this. I'm not even working on the bird anymore. To secure the arms of our little friend down, we don't really need to go super duper hardcore in this step because again, this whole thing is just going to be very covered in cotton. Side note, my previous career that I was in for over a decade was a theatrical props maker, so that's where a lot of these skill sets come from. There we go. Now I've secured these little wire pieces together. We're actually going to try a couple of different methods. We have our very adorable little three-legged stick figure metal friend here that we are going to set aside next to the teacup. Next up, we have some aluminum foil that had been rolled off the spool for one reason or another, and then didn't end up being used, so it got set aside into one of my myriad of excess supply bins. I like to just keep around. I have a whole bin of like paper cutoffs, egg cartons, and various other things that I know will eventually come in handy in a project, even if I don't have a specific idea at this moment what it's going to be, which is a very slippery slope when you are collecting trash, because if you're not careful, you just end up with nothing but trash, and it's overflowing every single bin, and suddenly you don't have any room to work anymore. So I like to keep around the rule, only keep what you specifically have a space for. And if you don't already have a space for the thing and you really want to keep the thing, you have to spend the time to go make the space, because otherwise you just cover all your table surfaces. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna ball this up into kind of like a little guy shape. That's really what I'm doing here. So really the point of this one is just to give us, and balling, the point of balling aluminum foil up and putting it inside of things is generally just to take up space. It's either this or newsprint to take up space inside of something. But with newsprint, you have to be careful because, of course, if for whatever reason that thing gets wet, like you're about to paint it with a 1-to-1 water glue mixture, your newsprint might melt on you or dissolve or leak ink. So aluminum foil is just a really great space taker upper that isn't going to destroy your project. That also means we're ready to make a little glue mixture. I have an awesome thing going with my neighbors where I have a list up outside of my door and like a bin, a note up outside my door saying the kinds of things that I'm collecting right now. So that's how I'm able to get, I think my last soda tab project was 300 soda tabs. It's not that I drank 300 sodas, it's that I crowdsourced. But similarly, I get lots of fun little jars and mixing vessels from my super awesome neighbors, who sometimes will just see or like have something they're trying to get rid of, and they'll bring it over for me even if it wasn't on my list, which is, look at this adorable thing one of my neighbors left for me. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Little jar my neighbor gave me. All right, so this is just normal water. We'll use the Elmer's and the cotton balls for this time, and then we'll make one with like the nice supplies to try to mimic one of the other ones, maybe a smaller doll. We're gonna do a 1-to-1 glue to water ratio. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm doing a project that I'm planning on making probably in total around 10 of these little friends. Like right now we're doing the tester phase, but there actually is a planned art piece with a specific little friend doing a specific little thing that we're not gonna get towards for a while. Boop. Okay, I'm pouring water in. And then mixing this up together. In my scenic painting class, whenever we would describe how we should mix something together, like what the texture of it should be, they would talk about it in terms of milk. They would say, go mix that to 1% milk, go make whole milk. I'm drinking Earl Grey. If you were wondering, I am a tea fiend. Gonna set aside my little, I call this whole milk, and then take out my, these cotton balls are actually maybe literally my oldest craft supply that I still have available to me. I bought this bag my first year of college, so 15 years ago or something like that. With our cotton balls, they typically, if you can find the end of them, then you can unroll your cotton ball into a nice long strip. Not that it's super important for what we're doing right now, but a nice long strip where your fibers are all facing in the same direction. If you are interested in doing your own spun cotton project, I do highly recommend looking up a tutorial online. The things that I'm gonna do are gonna be cute and relatively simple and funky, but this technique can be used to make some really detailed, really beautiful pieces. Like, I've seen people make little witch hats with paper thin brims just using this technique. And then we're gonna go in, and once this is painted, or once this is dry, all the glue is dry, then we're gonna go in next week, I think is next time I'm gonna go live, but we're gonna paint them. So hopefully I'll see some of y'all there when we do that, because I will 100% be taking paint color suggestions. We're actually about to cover our very first friend, and this is a little three-legged skeleton of them. Speaking of which, these are cat food trays, but they're really excellent for putting still drying materials. Part of what I love to do, as you probably know from watching my videos, is collect trash. In particular, I really love when I find a store that specializes in trashy items, where you can go and drop off your bits of packaging or unused supplies for others to rifle through. So a vast majority of what you see in front of you are three little categories that I got from one such store called Tinkertopia. And I did this with the express goal of making these little guys. We have little tiny petri dishes. We have little lamp parts. Like, I don't even know what this is, but it is just so incredibly excellent, in my opinion, for doing things like kit bashing, or the art form called assemblage, which is 3D collage, essentially. We have all sorts of amazing clear plastic pieces that I'm going to be trying to integrate in with our little guys. So my hope is that while we're putting the spun cotton around, they can have little astronaut faces. That's kind of what I'm going for right now. But depending on how well this test goes, we might even be able to put some pretty silly stuff behind their faces. Oh my gosh, that's why. I was like, why does this not make sense in my head? I feel like I'm doing this wrong. It's because I am doing it wrong. I forgot an entire step to this process, which is that we are actually going to, before we start painting it on with glue, we're going to wrap our little friend with some of this cotton, basically wrap a base layer of cotton down first so that it has something to actually connect together to, because as you probably know, school glue, PVA glue, does not attach to metal that particularly well. Also, I am going to go around, at least at first, just the metal wire with this cotton batting and leave the hole in the middle of their face. I have given us a very, very basic loose wrap of cotton batting on our little friend here. And now I'm going to go through with some pretty sturdy thread. This is specifically upholstery thread, which my history in soft goods and the fact that I know how to upholster makes me in particularly like, but it's a great thread that's probably not going to snap on you unless you try to cut it. And I'm going to use that to tightly bind all of this cotton onto our wonderful little wire skeleton. The question is, I'd love to know your sources of inspiration. I find mine usually from music and being out in nature. Sunflower emoji, which sunflowers are my favorite flowers. My sources of inspiration are, I don't know, it's like nebulous and specific. Generally, right now, my art is focused on knowing that I want to present it in video format, right? Because it's my job. So I typically will think of something that would be a fun material or technique that I can explore. Something I don't know yet at this point still. Sorry, I'm trying to tie a little knot right now. Something that sounds interesting, or more, even better than that, is something that I think will sound interesting to y'all. Going forward from that inspiration of material / technique, I will then typically try to think of something that will fit into that material or technique. And then I'll spend some time brainstorming on how I think I could accomplish that, which for me is actually a pretty darn, like the brainstorming section is a pretty quick process because of my background in theatrical props. I would often have whole very large projects dumped on me and kind of like, how would you make this thing? What's your idea for this trick? We don't like that one, next one. And so just brainstorming on the spot is something I have had years and years and years of practice on. So I'll think of something that sounds interesting. I just wrapped this around my finger and I can't get it off, so I'm gonna have to fix that. Inspiration comes like a limitless pool to me, so it's really more about directing it, and that the thing I just described is kind of how I like to direct it. Once I have an idea of what I would like to make, I will then go and do research on that thing. So with the corpse flower, I did so much research on specifically what they look like and a whole lot about what was up with the flower itself, just because it was really interesting to me. There are a few other things, external factors, like these little guys. I just really wanted to make little guys, and then I figured out a way I could make little guys. A very nebulous desire on this one, because once I start on something, it never goes to plan. I just follow my own whimsy. So there, hopefully that kind of answered your question, and there was just way too much information on it. There we go. Okay. Oh, I didn't even double knot it because I'm being silly. Boop. You can see how slow this is, but I'm excited for our little cotton wicker, man. This is gonna be so cute. It is hard to work and read comments at the same time. I'm just gonna get this started and then start talking again. Okay, there we go. Much easier. Like in my head, in my current imagination, which like I said earlier, never ends up actually being what the finished product is gonna be. I don't think I've known exactly what I was making that didn't end up changing around 30%, especially with the backgrounds of things. But currently my thought on these guys is that they're gonna be very abstract, general living thing shaped little friends. He looks so fun. Look at where he looks like he's wearing a metal diaper now. I'm gonna put this last little bit just to cover up his butt, and then we're actually gonna do the thing. I am quite happy that I didn't actually forget this stuff, because the string helps it stick on the metal just so much better than just kind of a little loose glue could. So we now have a little cutie patootie who is three-legged. I love the 3 legs, but I think I'm quickly discovering why this can't be the hero figure. 3-legged little cutie. We are now going to use our 1-to-1 Elmer's glue and water mixture, along with unspooled cotton balls, to attach to our little friend, hopefully along with some clear trash. And we'll see how all of that goes. We'll see how sculptable this thing is, because that's what's really interesting about this technique. From what I've seen of other projects online, it's just the amount of detail that you can get in with this is just absolutely gorgeous, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. So, of course, I grabbed a paintbrush that's definitely about to fall off its stick. Oh my gosh, look. It's honestly, it's like kind of sticking to my paintbrush, but that's my own fault for picking not the best paintbrush. But it's smoothing onto the cotton so nicely. All right, so the question is, I'd be interested to learn how you got into and narrow down your art style if you're comfortable to share. Yes. Specifically on art style, I definitely do have one. But it's not one that I'm as super duper conscious of right now, because I am of the opinion that I'm actually still in the learning phase of making art. You know, I've been making things since I could hold a tool. I think I got my first hammer when I was something like 5. And then I went into prop land, where they worked really hard through education and internships to basically break any sort of an art style out of us. Theater is very much a make the thing we've told you to make it as fast as possible, make it as cheap as possible, and make it not break when we throw it across the stage, like we always do every time. Ever since not primarily doing theater anymore, now that I primarily do videos and my own personal art, I've actually been spending the last 5-ish years trying to rediscover my own art style and rediscover what art techniques I really, really like and like what speak to me. And I've definitely been leaning a lot more soft goods, which is, you know, fabric and beading and sewing and felting. Just because I love them. I find them really fun, and I find them really abstract, which I'm a huge fan of. So I've been spending the last long time figuring that out. But as far as, you know, all of the eyeballs, corpse flowers, flesh nuts, and all of that jazz, the answer there is less fun. Which is, I, as a former props artisan, typically think of all things, meaning anything that would be a prop, as like kind of neutral. I don't really, you know, look at a human heart and go, oh my gosh, the human heart with its large connotations around love and death, because it's, you know, an organ outside the body. I don't think of them like that. I think of them a lot closer to, well, that's a prop. The last 5 years is me learning a whole bunch of new techniques, trying to figure out what I like, and trying to reteach myself that I'm allowed to have my own artistic impulses. I don't have to purely make what the scenic designer or the director or the prop master says. It's ending up kind of like fabric-y when I put the glue itself on the figure. It's like wetting it down in such a way that I feel like I could really easily have, like, I don't know if you can kind of see that, but there are little wrinkles that are forming. So if I wanted my figure, oh my gosh, my figure, one of them can have, we can make a little Slender Man kind of thing with a little suit and a hat, but an empty face. Also, I promise once we build this little friend up, they're gonna be so ding dang cute. We're just not there yet, but they're going to be. This one's gonna be, I think, kind of skinny, because I was thinking about bulking them out just a bit more. But I'm like really quite worried about how long this glue is going to take to dry. If you're enjoying, you know, having a little art co-working in the background, keep me in mind next week too. Okay, what I am learning with my current glooping on, this guy's probably not going to be in the final video just because he's, you know, the learning model. There might be a duplicate of him that looks nicer. But I think I need to be careful with the bottom layer. The bottom layer, as always, I might have even said this in my last video, if you make yourself a wonky base, then you're gonna have a wonky shaped thing. You really want to spend kind of an annoying amount of time working on your base shape before you put on anything that looks nice. Because otherwise you have a lot more difficult of a time trying to make your final project look nice, especially when it comes to proportions. Like where things bend, that's just, there's no fixing that in your base once you have it there. So yeah, but what I'm seeing is that I was not super careful about making sure everything was exactly the same length here. And I didn't get everything to like the same amount of pointy. But if something looks good when you're supposedly 30% or 70% of the way through, if you're like, wow, that looks awesome, I'm so happy with the aesthetics of where this is right now, I have a superstition that means the final product is going to look terrible. Because if something is presentable before it's ready to be presented, that means you probably missed something, or you forgot about something, or you didn't leave room for something. But that's also just a superstition. It's like probably stems off of the theatrical superstition that if your final preview goes perfectly, then your opening night's going to be bad. So I think that's probably where my arty superstition comes from, that if the thing I'm working on looks absolutely beautiful in the building stages, then I get worried. Oh my gosh, it's stuck to me. This is working with an ungloved hand. I'm really excited for a blank-faced friend. I almost feel like I should just let this base layer dry and figure out what that does, and then maybe also layer on the aluminum foil and see how that does. I think we're gonna have, next week is gonna be entirely spun cotton based on this test, honestly. The cotton sticking out and looking a little bit like a foot, that's kind of fun. Boop! Scooching off to the side. Ugh. Okay, so I'm trying to shape the ball right now, which is taking a decent amount of, it's taking so much texture, you can actually see it in the paper. Okay, so I guess we're making, what if we put, look, they could be, like, put the cotton everywhere except their little helmet, and then we just see their metallic under. That'll be fun. Let's do that. 10 sticks. Oops. These are just really hardcore scissors. Alright, that was the sound. There we go. So we have our cute little piece of plastic trash and our cute little aluminum foil ball that I'm hoping will come together. I just had a great idea. Which I'm hoping will come together to make a little cutie. But the great idea that I just had is if I stuff wire in here, then they could have tentacles. They could be a little metallic tentacle friend. This armature wire is just not very dainty. We're gonna use this, because even though I don't think it's a smaller diameter, at least it's shiny. This is a little felting spike that came with my felting kit. I'm pretty sure it was specifically for eyes, but it has actually been one of my most used tools of all of my tools. I am such a big fan of just having a spike. Which I know I can just use upholstery. Oh my gosh, it works. Ah, cute. Okie dokie. Are we still recording? Oh my gosh, it is still recording. Why is it that the second you put appendages on something, it becomes cute? I'm like, I know they're little tentacles, but like, I'm just thinking about him like floating around with his silly little tentacles being like bloop, bloop, bloop. Like, I should stop goofing around quite as much and do the thing everyone's here for, which is the crafting. For the love of the craft. All right, please, the little leggies don't fall out for a while. So we have to make sure that the helmet is not showing his pants. That'd be mortifying after all. I'm gonna see if the wire helps hold the legs on, but I'm not really super optimistic about how well that'll work. But we'll see. It looks so, it's so shiny. It's like fun little antennas, but honestly, I just, the alien octopus of it all brings me incredible amounts of joy. I'm trying to cut around the rim of the plastic, hoping that I can mold these little tabbies more in shape. Cute. I'm gonna use some of my double stick tape just to put it in place until, again, I can actually glue it in place. Dig this little friend down, I think. I forgot to take off the backing paper. Okay, so what if we do... Oh yeah, that's a better side. All right, we're gonna do that and just stick it there for now. And I know you can't see it perfectly. Looks like a little Among Us. Cute. Ah, oh, perfect. I'll make it an eyeball in there, because like, look at that. That would be pretty perfect for eyeballness, but I want to see their inner metal soul, so I'm gonna keep it. Look at her little pants. I like this one quite a lot so far. Keep them warm for the cold winter time. Because at first I was thinking, you know, nice and smooth, but now I'm kind of thinking like around here, like mushroom gills, you know, like little, I don't know how to describe, like ruffles. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what we come up with. I guess it's been a year ago now, but really just a few months ago in me time, I learned how to crochet for the first time. And then I made, wait, I'm gonna show you. So I made out of plastic bags, this like eye iris here, along with, this is really big, so it's gonna be hard to see, this thing. So this is like my first one, and this is just made out of Safeway bags. So it's just a whole bunch of crocheted Safeway bags. And the idea was that I was kind of going for an eye at first. It's like to make a big eye basket out of plastic bags here. But then I became so enamored with this like wiggle that happened for me just learning how to crochet and, you know, putting too many stitches in. I was so into that I didn't fix it, and now the two just like don't work super well together because that just covers that right up. But I have just a massive I know this is not spun cotton, but I have a massive crocheted basket now with surgical tubing around the edge here, which is allowing it to like be rigid but still flexible. So I have this super fun thing that I used when I was learning to crochet. Oh my gosh, I have tea. I've had tea this whole time I haven't been drinking. How silly. It says the metal little guy would fit through the crochet hole. Let's see. Oh no, sorry, this is so hard to see. Okay, wait, what about that? All right, spun cotton. I'm gonna wrap the string around like I was saying I would literally 15 minutes ago. Okay, now he's got very tight pants. Look at his little... This creation does not have a name yet, but we'll probably get one by the time we're done. So if you have any suggestions... Cotton Eye Joe, yeah! Yes, that's so good. So this is a ball of aluminum foil and a contact lens case. We're gonna cover this and make like an octopus looking thing. But I'm just gonna finish out by covering this in with the glue cotton, and then we're gonna have to let it dry and come back next week. Look at that giant leg. It just transforms it. Also, I think I hear my cat outside the door having opinions that I closed him out. Hello. You wanna say hello to Cotton Eye Joe? Alright, go about your business. Like, is that something that's at all interesting to people? Do people want to know about useful organization techniques for crafting supplies? Okay. I know you guys are going to be really sad with our little secondary friend here. I'm getting too hungry. I'm gonna go eat some lunch. After the stream ended and I ate some lunch, I went back and covered our little Cotton-eyed Joe friend and shoved that footage in here at the end because I didn't want you left wondering what they looked like once they got their cottony clothes on. I think with Cotton-eyed Joe here, I put the head up a little too far. So I'm actually going to come back in with a whole bunch of more cotton and just give him a forehead, which also will conveniently cover up, make it like an eyelid type deal so he doesn't have a perfect round dome. And then the foam that's in there right now, I tried to make the circle big enough so that when we 8-ball it around, it can't turn on its side and get wedged in, which was the problem with all of the smaller pieces. Now that our glue is all mixed up and our pupil is ready, we can give them a little... Okay, so I know I just mixed up the glue and everything. I'm actually going to use thread and add more batting and fill out this shape a little more because I think I want our jellyfish, you know, I just think that this is too form-fitting. The eyes is quite funny. Looks like a very warm, bundled up little friend. Oh no, don't cover up the eyeball. I feel like they kind of look like some sort of meat wrapped up like this. But we're finally ready to get on to the gluing. Glue, glue, glue. We've gotten some cotton on the top half of our little friend, and we've got a really solid base here. And now I'm gonna add in some details. Specifically, I want 2 little bumps on the top of their little head like that. No, on top of your head, come on. Stay fashionable. I was just talking you up, come on. Everything we do, we don't do it for shock value, we do it for silly value. Alrighty, and here we have a little friend with a movable pupil who's been covered in cotton. I'm definitely gonna go back through and add more details, but I at least wanted you to see what they would look like covered. So we'll get back to them in a follow-up live. I'll see you later. I have to figure out how to turn this off, and boop.